Alright, this is week 6, can you believe it? It's Monday. This is day 15, Introduction to Computers and Information Systems. We looked at some more hardware and details. I talked about software, we looked at examples of system software, and then we worked. We talked about output, the different areas. I talked a little bit about when you're filling out the outline, some things, for example, on displays, pixels, the little dots that make up the screen. You should understand pixels, a picture element. The more pixels, the better. They used to worry about something called dot pitch, the distance between the dots. We don't worry about that much anymore. So you can think about, printed output, something on a screen or audio. Okay. And there can be output that would do something with a device, like put on the brakes on a car. Something's in the way, you run into it. A lot of different types of input in terms of a keyboard, joystick, PlayStation, those devices, game controllers, I guess I'm trying to think of. So, a computer can read your eyes, okay, computer can read objects moving, and so forth. A lot of really cool ways, and this is going to be interesting in the future, how much input is done by technology. So all these different items, connect into here somehow through that bus. The bus connects out in terms of, we're going to talk about the bus. We connected out. We're going to talk a little bit more about storage here in a minute. We can go to that right now. File allocation table. Computers store information on hard drives, one thing after another, and it fits them into tracks. And then the tracks, they're divided up into sectors. Then the computer keeps track of a file based on all these addresses out there, where it can put stuff. And then there's some type of file allocation. And we talked about this. We looked at we opened up the file manager. It's a type of system software that allows us to manage files. It showed them all organized in folders and so forth. But really, it's just looking, all those have an address. It's just referring to the address on the disk. It doesn't actually store them in separate places on the hard drive. Okay. We looked at what virus software is being used in the labs, and there's a number of other things that are in the outline. They're referred to as utilities. They allow us to go from being a user to a little bit more of an expert in how we manage our computer system. Okay. We talked a little bit too with the file manager. We talked a little bit about storage. You can store information on the local area network. In the IT area, this is, I believe, the U drive. And then at NIACC, they have data storage, and I'll look up what they call that, but you can be on computers in that part of the network and store stuff there, here at the college. And then we talked about storing information out in the cloud. And we're going to look at that here in a minute. Re-review processor, memory, storage. Alright, the other thing we talked about was the operating system. We listed them: Android, iOS, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, and there are others. We talked about there's operating systems that function in your cars and so forth. Alright, how many times do I... Let's move to the next screen. I think I missed a screen, but anyway. Spreadsheets, the real value is analysis. We talked about that. And then in here we talked about labels and numbers, you know. In a cell, there's either a label starting on the left, or in a cell we can have a number, and they're usually lined up on the right. So that's a good way to tell, and you should be able to look at them. You can't do arithmetic with labels. Okay. We looked at an example of absolute and relative addressing. Absolute is where we put the dollar signs on, and then when you copy it, those values don't change. So if we're referring to a specific number in a cell and we don't want that to change, we can make it absolute. Relative addressing, that'd be the case where when you copy it down, you're referring to a cell, let's say B8, and you copy it down, it becomes B9. You are referencing this value here, and this is what you want to do now. You want to reference the value here as you copy down. We reviewed the if statement. Here's the condition, the true part, false part. VLOOKUP. This is what you're looking up, the table, and which column to take it out of. And then we talked a little bit about the round. We can have some type of formula here, and this would be how many decimal places you're rounding it to. Okay. So the other thing we did talk about was we talked a little bit about storage in the cloud. And we gave the example of Google, Dropbox, Amazon, OneDrive, or Microsoft storage in the cloud, iCloud. All these places we can store clouds, and there are a lot more. Those are just some of the more popular ones. Alright, so on Wednesday we'll continue working on spreadsheets, and we'll finish up software. We'll talk about a little more about apps. If we get a chance, we might install some software. Alright, that's it.